What's up guys, Thomas here and welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about 5 things I like and 5 things I dislike about the GEPRC TinyGO 4K FPV kit. Let's get into it. Alright guys, so I've been flying the GEPRC TinyGO 4K version for a few weeks now. I did a unboxing, a specs, and a first flight video. If you haven't seen those before, I'll leave a link where you can see those. There's a lot of demand for this drone still, so I do think they will make a version 2 of this kit. So let's get into it. Let's talk about the things I dislike. Let's talk about the things I didn't like first, and then we'll end on a good note and talk about some of the things that I do like. So first thing we will talk about is the elephant in the room, this controller here. This is a decent controller. I won't say it's a bad controller, it's a decent controller. The form factor is really good on this thing. When I first touched this thing, it was very light. I put the batteries in here and it feels substantial. This is a pretty decent remote as far as the way it feels, the way it sits in your hand, but I still am not familiar with the gimbals. The gimbals are a little bit too light. Whenever I do move the gimbals, I wish there was a little bit more resistance on the throttle. It's just, this feels very plasticky and it just feels too light. Now I have tested or used other gimbals in the past. We'll talk about that in a little bit later, but even other controls from other manufacturers have a little bit more resistance to this than this one. So first thing is the gimbals on this controller. I wish it was a little bit better feedback. Having said that, the one I do use the gimbals on it, the input seems to be instant, no delays, and it is very sensitive. The second thing I want to talk about here is also the control. The controller here seems to be the biggest letdown of this whole RTF kit. The second thing I didn't appreciate was the lack of a port. Now, this is an RTF kit. This is a kit for beginner. You're probably first starting off with this kit. You probably don't have any other FPV accessories in your arsenal, or you don't have any FPV accessories at all. So this kit does provide everything you need, but the only thing that's really lacking is a port. Now I say that because a port can do multiple things. A port can actually charge this controller. Unfortunately, this also uses AA batteries, not a rechargeable built-in battery. But the thing here is the target audience for this kit would be a person with no FPV experience. So most of the controllers out there do have a port, and that port can allow you to use this controller, not only to control the drone, but to use it as a simulator or a controller for your simulator. So I do recommend you guys use a simulator and practice, but you cannot use a simulator without having a controller that can interface with your computer. And because this controller here, there's no ports, you can't do that. All right, enough about that. The third thing that I dislike about this whole kit is the radio protocol. And that also includes the transmitter again for the third time. So you see a trend here. But that's the transmitter and also the receiver in the GEPRC TinyGO. So the protocol that they use in the TinyGO is the FHSS. Now that's a pretty decent protocol, meaning it's very secure, very sturdy. It's nothing as far as like breaking up or interference there. The problem with that protocol is that it's not the most common protocol. And the problem with that is with the FPV kit or any FPV drone, especially if you're first time buying, you don't want to buy numerous of the same items. So if I have my FPV kit here, if I do buy an upgraded drone or a new drone, hopefully I can use my controller and hopefully I can use my goggles with the new drone. Well, because they use this protocol, then I can't find another drone in the market that uses that protocol, so I can use this controller with that drone. The same is true with this drone specifically as well. Because there's an FHSS receiver in here, I can't use a traditional transmitter or remote on the market to control this. So let's say, for example, you don't like the form factor of this, so you go buy another controller or remote that has a port that you can use on your computer. And you say, okay, well, since I'm using this in the sim, I can use this to control my drone. Typically, that would be the case, but because this is the most common protocol, let's say FrSky, for example, this combined with numerous drones on the market, but because this has a proprietary FHSS protocol, these two cannot communicate. And because of that, now I have 2 controllers and I have 1 drone. So this controller can be used in the future for other drones because it's a readily available protocol. But because the protocol here is, I will say proprietary, you can only use this controller with this drone, although you have the option to bind 3 drones total. So I'm assuming their logic is you can bind 3 of the GEPRC TinyGOs. I don't know how realistic that is, but it's not too beneficial. All right, the fourth thing I dislike about this drone is the charging. Now, the charger is very versatile. Here's the charger right here, not much insulation, but that's fine. The batteries are pretty cool. The batteries are awesome, 530 milliamp hours, but they advertise, I think, a 20-minute charge time. But I've been getting a lot of variances in the charge time of these batteries. Now, that's obviously gonna be dependent upon which port you use. Are you gonna charge it via USB-C or are you gonna charge it via USB-A? Is your battery completely depleted or just, showing low voltage on your OSD? It just depends, and this can vary obviously. But I've been seeing some weird times. I'm seeing times between, I think, 25 and 45 minutes. That's a long time. So I do have 3 sets of batteries, but remember, if you are out in the field and you've depleted all your batteries, it might take more than 20 minutes to recharge your batteries. All right, the 5th thing I dislike about this kit is the goggles. Now, most of the RTF ready-to-fly kits have a box-style goggles. Now, this one here is no different. This one here is pretty cool that it has a DVR built into it, and it works really well. The thing I don't like about this style of goggles is just the fact that you can't use this with glasses. I wear glasses. Fortunate for me, I don't need them to see things near. This is not a problem for me, but if you do wear glasses to see things close, then this could be a problem. I just wish that they would, also just consider people who wear glasses, or just design something similar to a Fat Shark, but just cheaper. Like, it's fine. Just make it a little bit wider, and so it can accommodate the glasses. All right, guys, so those are the 5 things I disliked about. Let's talk about the 5 things that I like about. In fact, there's more than 5 things. All right, the first thing I like about this whole RTF kit is the fact that they went with Betaflight as the OSD. You can change the parameters in these via Betaflight to change whether it's more sensitive, less sensitive, to take out some washout, so forth. I haven't ventured into that yet. This seems to be a pretty decent tune on this, but the fact that you can go into your goggles using your controller and change the parameters like your VTX, that is amazing. The fact that it uses Betaflight is a really good thing. The second thing I like about this drone is the fact that it uses a 2S battery. Some of the competitors use a 1S battery, which is really good for indoor flight. Also, using one battery, if you have a set of batteries, then you can have more flights. But with the 2S, you have a lot more power. I can fly this either indoors or outdoors, and I really do like that. As I said before, this thing is so tiny. You can cover a lot of distance with the 2S. The motors are very punchy. So I did have some trouble sometimes if I'm in a dive, but with the 2S battery, this thing does have enough power to get out of certain situations. So the third thing I like about this drone is the camera. So let's talk about this. Most FPV drones, or all FPV drones, will have a camera in front. Obviously, it's a first-person view drone, so there'll be a camera in front. The thing I really love about this one is the fact that it's a 4K camera. You said, why is that relevant? Well, the main reason why I went with this one, and this drone does come in 2 options. It comes in a 1080p version and a 4K version. I did choose the 4K version only because, well, I make videos, obviously. So I do want to document my flights. If I'm going to an enclosed space, or I'm in the jungle or somewhere else, I do want to have a higher resolution image so I can edit, maybe crop in, or just have a better resolution altogether. The other thing about this one is that this one is also adjustable, so you can change the angle of your camera. Some of the other beginner drones have a fixed angle, so if you're flying indoors, the camera might be pointed up, and then you would be forced to fly a little bit faster indoors. When this one here, you can adjust the angle if you're indoors, or increase the angle to fly outdoors and fly a little bit faster. So very customizable. The camera is the main reason why I went with this. It costs a little bit more money, but I do recommend it. Okay, so the third thing I like about this kit as well is, going back to the camera of this drone, is the onboard recording. Many FPV drones have a camera. They all have cameras actually, but it sends the signals to the VTX and then you can see it through your goggles. So if your kit does have a DVR, you can record that in your goggles. And almost 90% of the beginner drones have a DVR built into the goggles, so you can record your footage. But that image is like a 480p footage. Not very clear. You get the interference from the VTX as an analog signal, so if you go behind a building or get too far, it could break up. So not the most cinematic video. So to combat that, they have a local recorder in the drone. That's one of the best things about this. And it records in 4K at 60 frames per second. So the onboard recording here is pretty awesome. I've used this a lot. I've shown you images or examples of that. And this was the deciding factor why I got this. The 4K camera, but the ability to record on board. I'm sold just in that principle. That's amazing. All right, so the fifth thing I like about this kit is the controller. So there's numerous good things about this, but one thing I want to highlight is the labels on the transmitter or the remote. We obviously have the labeling in the front here, but all these switches here, these might be new to a first-time pilot, but the fact that they're all labeled is pretty awesome. Obviously, that may or may not mean much because sometimes if you have the goggles on, you're under the hood, they call it the hood, you really can't see the controller anyways, but sometimes you are flying from the third perspective here or just on the simulator, and most of the competitors don't have any labels on these switches. Now they have a label that says S, A, B, C, D, and obviously you can assign these to whatever you want, but if you get into a crasher or whatever, you say, okay, which one is the one to get into turtle mode? I don't know, it's not labeled. How do I get the buzzer on? I don't know, it's not labeled buzzer. So you would have to really be familiar with this very well before you use the switches here. So I really do like that they're labeled, clearly labeled, and anyone can just easily read this and get going. All right, guys, what do you guys think? I did want to make this video because a lot of people were asking about the features of this drone. Can the controller connect to the computer as a flight sim controller? There's a lot of questions about this whole kit, and it can alter your buying decision if you know what are the shortcomings. Let me know what you think about this kit. Leave those comments down below. I'll happily answer those. And if you haven't seen the series on this kit, I've done a few videos on this, unboxing, first flight, and the specs of this whole kit. I'll leave a link down where you can watch all those. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next video. Peace. Today we're talking about 5 things I like and 5 things I dislike about the awesome. So yeah, guys, what do you think about this drone? Do you think the kits in the market have a goggle style, or has a, I keep saying that. What's going on here? Phone is ringing. Okay.